Final hour OverDrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We're now up on TSN2. Darren Dreger will join us here in a few moments. Track and Jay's twins. We'll get to this Jerry DiPoto comment in just a second. I want to play this. Mariners GM, yes, who's expecting the fans to actually appreciate the fact that they missed the playoffs.
Insane.
It's better.
Insane.
It's better that they missed.
Yeah, underlying numbers.
Yeah, because everything's working in the right direction, right?
Yeah, and furthermore, for people that are tweeting and saying Schneider really put his job on the line with this move, pulling out Berrios, if you think for 1 second that it was his idea or Pete Walker's, you're high.
Exactly. This is the front office and the analytics that make decisions like that. And I saw the conversation going on. It was Mattingly and Schneider. And I wouldn't be shocked, my own speculation here, if Mattingly, old school, is like, maybe we should kind of go against what the computer's telling us here. And, in the end, they pull Berrios. Kikuchi goes in. Now it's 2-0 Twins. But again, it doesn't even matter what the arms are doing if they can't produce any runs.
Right.
They've scored one run in the series.
Yeah,
and they've had
someone else tweeted that as
opportunities.
well. Now, people, calm down and stop forgetting about the big problem here is they can't hit.
They still can't produce any runs.
You got to figure it out.
And they've had ample opportunity.
But right now, and that's what we can argue about, is that's where what you're seeing is Berrios pitching a really good game and gets taken out. You can argue whether that's premature or not. Mm-hmm. And that's the big question mark because you don't know. The next pitch, he could have given up a dinger or he could have gotten out of another
That's
inning.
what the numbers would say, right? Like if you run it 100 times, this is going to happen here, and that's
but
why
instinct in the playoffs, this is
thing.
where the numbers don't factor in, and this is what bothers me. Is not everything there is competitive nature, there is gut feeling, there is intimidation. Those aren't in pie charts. That's what bothers me about people say, well, if you run the numbers, yes, you can run the numbers. This is what's expected. This is it on 100 times. This isn't 100 times. This is this particular day or night for that particular game.
Exactly. Every pitch is the same. No, it's not. Every goal is the same. No, it's not.
No,
it's not, and it never has been, and it never will be. And that's not, again, to suggest there isn't a ton of value in the information and utilizing it properly.
Great, but you use it, but you also should trust your instincts. That's what
you have to marry the two together.
If you're an elite coach, an elite player, that's what separates you from a guy, a beer league hockey guy, or a guy, a beer league baseball.
Even a fourth line guy,
right?
Or a guy who hits ninth. A guy that's what separates the greats from the good from the not so good.
Yeah.
All right, let's play this. All right, Gary DiPoto, the GM of the Mariners, on why people in Seattle, they should be happy. They should be thanking him that they missed the playoffs.
If you go back and you look in a decade, those teams that win 54% of the time always wind up in the postseason, and they more often than not wind up in World Series. So there's your bigger picture process. Nobody wants to hear the goal this year is we're going to win 54% of the time. Because sometimes 54% is one year you're going to win 60%, another year you're going to win 50%. It's whatever it is. But over time, that type of mindset gets you there. If what you're doing is focusing year to year on what do we have to do to win the World Series this year, you might be one of the teams that's laying in the mud and can't get up for another decade. So we're actually doing the fan base a favor and asking for their patience to win the World Series while we continue to build a sustainably good roster.
Doing you a favor. Yes, we missed, but we're doing you a favor.
And everyone else that takes a swing at the home run season, they're dummies because they could end up in the mud.
Yeah.
Screw that
54%,
guy.
that's all that matters. 54%. You just do that, aim for 54%.
But he's you go over a decade. Like that guy, he's not going to have a job in a decade in Seattle.
What blows my mind is, does he not
ago.
figure out what a typical sports fan is? A typical sports fan drives a pickup truck and drinks a cold beer and sits on his couch to watch the game. Does he think that anyone wants to hear that garbage?
Well,
keep that to yourself, Gary.
That's the problem with a lot of these these front office people, like he's the president of baseball operations. You see it in every sport, though. You have these leaders of the organization that have no bedside manner, that think that way. And it's not that there isn't value in that. And it isn't
zero bedside manner.
And it's not that what he's saying is wrong in terms of like, if you do this over a sustained period of time, you're going to give yourself cracks at it.
Right.
But suggesting that they were doing them a favor.
That is an insane comment,
is
dude.
Absolutely unforgivable. Furthermore, Seattle was in the playoffs like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like they didn't finish with 50 wins. And the favor is we didn't trade anyone. We actually made deals at the deadline. We bring in kids. It's about development. This was a playoff team a year ago in Seattle. Expected to be a playoff team this year. We're in the playoffs like a week or two ago, and then puked and missed.
What did I just tell you about the excuse? That was a built-in excuse to Gary. Yeah, that was an excuse for Gary to say, we just puked our guts out coming down the stretch here, but don't worry, it's for the best in everyone's interest.
That's the best example of of exactly what that is no.
Right.
We didn't miss the playoffs.
No, we did everyone a favor.
We did everyone a favor, and we executed our plan.
Be thanking us.
Thank us right now, because what we did was we didn't deviate from my plan.
Yeah.
And I'm great at what I know how to do.
Could you have a follow-up question and say to him, okay, so was the plan to not make the playoffs because you were in the playoffs 2 weeks ago? Did you try and drop out? Did you want to drop out?
Yes.
That should have been a follow-up question.
Exactly. When you were in the playoffs and
were you not happy with that?
Home field in the AL West, which would have gotten you a bye through the wild card, were you
Whose
thinking
favor was that?
This is a detriment to us and our 54% plan?
Yeah, ridiculous.
It's a complete cop-out. Here's Darren Dreger at TSN Hockey Insider. What's happening, Dregs?
Just living through the pain like you guys are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're invested in the Jays, which I'm not, I'm a fan, I suppose, interested bystander, but this has kind of gone off the rails in a hurry here. Some time left, but kind of feels like a crucial one.
Well, they're just big hits. They need a big hit. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Dregs, we were talking about the analytics. Like, do you think people in hockey, it seems like Hayes had an outrageous comment from some dude, Jerry from Seattle, who was like, we missed the playoffs, but it's okay. It doesn't matter because it's in the best of everyone's interest. Do you think it almost seems like some organizations, it's like a built-in excuse when they don't succeed. They're like, it looks ugly, but if you look, we should have won those games, and we're going to win in the future. It's just crazy, some of the things that are coming out of the mouths of these guys.
Yeah, it is. I feel like it's been toned down a little bit. You guys remember when the analytics world really took charge, especially on social media. And, if you had a contrary opinion, look out, because the posse was coming after you in mainstream media. And I don't feel like it's that way anymore. But I think that all clubs, and I'm talking about pro sports in general here, not just the NHL, have finally figured out the balance in how you can make analytics and the numbers, also balance with the eye test and the more traditional approach to coaching. And I think that, successful organizations are utilizing that. So the comments from media on occasion don't affect me. But I am interested when I talk to coaches and they start explaining some of the things that they take from their advanced analytics that have helped them assess a player and where he might fit, and then how that's balanced again with the eye test.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's frustrating though, because I was talking about it before you came on, Darren, like analytics are very important. And, I read through them. I like having the information. But somewhere in this whole big business, instinct has been lost. Competitive nature has been lost. Like, that's where, and I don't know if we'll ever get it back unless you have a coaching staff, unless you have a management staff that says, hey, we will use the information, but I trust your instincts in this particular situation. And maybe that's what separates the greats and not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, imagine how frustrated you would be as a head coach or a member of the coaching staff when you're constantly getting that data and information, and maybe you're also equally challenged on it day in and day out based on the decisions that you made live during the game and the adjustments that you made, which all coaches should be able to do during a game. And, then the analytics are coming after you to say, well, why did you do this at that point of the game? I mean, the numbers don't justify why the decision was made at that. And I don't know how often that happens. But when I think of the more experienced coaches that are in today's NHL game, I can imagine there used to be a running, not joke, whether it was real or not. I never saw the pile. You guys probably heard it when Joel Quenneville was with the Chicago Blackhawks. And this was in the early days of, again, advanced stats, right? And he allegedly would get an envelope with a pile of that analytical data background. And by the midpoint of the season, he had like a foot and a half stacked up on his desk of papers from this department that he really never bothered to look at. And I don't know if that's true or not. I would assume that that's changed dramatically for all coaches in the NHL, just given the resources now, the money that's poured into the analytics world.
Yeah, I mean, it's information, and it's mandatory to have it, just like it is to watch tape and to have communication with your players, and there's a lot of things that have developed and changed over time. But
don't you think, guys, too much information can almost be paralyzing? Because
for players, for sure,
for players, for coaches, for management, because if you've got a lot of cooks in the kitchen, somebody has to make the decision. But if you're always second guessing that, going, well, this suggests this is what's going. At some point, there has to be a fine line between getting good data, useful data, and then applying it so that it works for your particular situation. And you see sometimes, organizations that have too much information, situations that have too much too much information, and you start to struggle, and it almost slows the machine down instead of speeding it up.
Yeah. Instead of going back to, simplifying, right? That used to be how it was. Let's simplify things so that you can focus on what the main ingredients are making you a better player. How do you get here? What were your strengths? What are the weaknesses that you've worked on? And now, I could potentially see guys, especially younger players, coaches getting overwhelmed by that. But I still think as analytics have evolved, so too have coaches and players, and now it's for the most part. There's always going to be the exception of the rule, but I think for the most part, they've been fine-tuned where, Sheldon Keefe is going to use what he believes is useful, and the rest of it doesn't matter one way or another. I mean, there does have to be that balance.
Darren, how difficult is Fraser Minten making it on the Leafs?
Yeah.
This kid's sticking around. Is it just to say, you know what, we really like you, spend the week with the guys? Or how serious could this possibly be?
Well, serious because he's played his way into that conversation.
Sure.
Do I think that Fraser Minten is going to stick with the Leafs for the year? No, I don't. I think that their plan is still to use him the way that he's deserved to be used right now. They're giving him added responsibility, which we saw in practice playing center ice. So give him more. But at the end of the day, he'll get an extended look. The plan is to send him back to junior hockey, and hopefully he makes the World Junior team. And now you hope that he has a dominant year in junior hockey. He shines on the world stage, and that just gives him another layer of experience so that he is ready to be a full-time NHL player as early as next year. But, I mean, that's the conversation today. And that's internal and external. But if he continues to deliver the way that he has, and he pushes that way, and he's able to get to the 6, 7, 8 game mark of the NHL regular season, and he's still delivering, maybe they're forced into a different path. But I don't see that at this stage.
Well, if Minton ends up going back to junior and Nylander ends up staying on the wing, it would appear as if they've got a possible issue up the middle of the ice, not on the top end with Matthews and Tavares, not on the fourth line with David Kampf, but who else plays center? Where do they go next if they don't want to play Willie there, or if it is determined he can't, and Fraser Minton goes back to junior?
Yeah, I mean, do you try and get it done internally? They've got a lot of time for Holmberg in a variety of ways because of how versatile he is.
I do too, Darren. I really like him.
Yeah. Yeah, they like him in all aspects, right? Like the versatility is there. The work ethic is there. They've got some real interesting stories, right? Like Noah Dreger, it looks like he's earned a contract. He's earned a spot on that team. So now all of a sudden, if you keep Holmberg, you keep Noah Dreger, what does that mean for other players? Like a Sam Lafferty, is he a luxury that you can't afford? If you've got Noah Dreger who provides that quickness, he's as aggressive, maybe is doing a little bit more, frankly, than Lafferty. And if he can play in the spot you need him to play, then that frees Brad Treliving up to maybe improve in other areas. I think this is going to sound ridiculous because they didn't catch a break. It's brutally unfortunate for Connor Timmins suffering that long-term injury because he was having a real good preseason. If he had been able to stay healthy, continue down that path, guys, I think we're having a different conversation on who's the odd man out up front, right? Because you'd keep Timmins as your 7, and now they're going to have to create cap space by potentially moving out a forward, especially if Holmberg continues to play the way he's played and Noah Dreger continues to play the way he's played. But Timmins got hurt, so I guess it's a non-issue. But I can see Holmberg, filling that 3-4 spot.
So news out of Ottawa today is that Josh Norris has had a setback, and DJ Smith is doing his best to make sure everyone knows that it's not, it's just a minor one. But, man, when you have an injury, he missed basically the whole year last year.
Played 8 games last year.
And he's a massive piece of the puzzle there.
Yep.
I guess, what are you hearing, Dregs? But if it is a longer-term deal, that's probably going to have a real ripple effect on that team.
It sure would, especially with the ongoing stalemate with Shane Pinto. Right. And, that should get rectified sooner rather than later, but it's not now. And you feel bad for Norris. I mean, this kid is a real good player. Like, he's a legit top 2 center in the National Hockey League, but, he's he just can't catch a break for an extended period. Now, let's call it day-to-day because that's what DJ Smith essentially said. He didn't sound too worried about it. He's looking at the weekend as likely for Norris to come back into the mix. So, everybody there expects that will be the case, but if it isn't and it becomes a lingering issue, then, of course, the pressure is going to pile up. Guys, Ottawa's got an unreal schedule with so many home games. Like, there's an opportunity for the Ottawa Senators to kind of run with it here right out of the gate. And that's been something that this club has really struggled with over the last number of years. They can't afford to have a sluggish start. They can't. So you all of a sudden start to pile up contract issues with Pinto, question mark beside Josh Norris, some other areas, and all of a sudden things start to get a little bit less rosy than they've been in Ottawa for the last, I would say, several days, if not weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a number of the markets in the country, right, that are just a little bit on edge based on what happened last year. Ottawa would be that. Winnipeg would apply. Calgary, Vancouver.
For sure.
Like, those are the markets where there's just a little bit of uncertainty. Like, are you going to make it? Are you not? You weren't awful last year. You weren't great last year. None of those, I guess Winnipeg made it, but they got spanked in the playoffs. But the other 3 didn't make it. It seems like there's some stress in the country. And
well, I think there should be stress in the country. October. Outside of Montreal, there should be stress in 6 different organizations for 6 different reasons.
Right, different bars that they're trying to match. Different bars that are set. I think Edmonton and Toronto are in a different expectation bracket. But then you look at Calgary, you look at Vancouver, you look at Winnipeg, those expectations, and Ottawa, you throw those 4 teams into, I think management and ownership would expect playoffs out of those 4 teams, like individually.
I agree.
Right.
So, you're right. Like,
but they're right on the border, though, right?
They are.
Right, all 4 of them are on the border.
So that's, and again, the expectations for Edmonton and Toronto, like it's cup or bust or deep into the playoffs or bust. If one of those organizations doesn't achieve that, where are we at again here?
Yeah, for sure.
No, that's fair. And look, there's an economic spin to this too, right? Maybe for the first time since the return of the Winnipeg Jets 2.0, they're having trouble selling season tickets. And that's a reality for the Winnipeg Jets. So even though Shoveldayoff, turned Pierre-Luc Dubois into assets that should help the team this year, no guarantee of that. So if they're a non-playoff team, then, you'd expect some higher level of change. They're in it to win it. And Calgary is perhaps the most intriguing for me, guys, just because of, they made changes. Obviously, Brad Treliving is now general manager of Toronto. Pretty significant change, coaching change, did what they did there. Heavy invested into some key players there, but they've also got players on expiring deals that they just decided they weren't going to move. I think Calgary's going to be better, but they're going to have to prove that. And if they're not, then I think you could see wholesale changes again in Calgary.
Ooh, yeah, man, that would be something. Like they got a new coach, they got a new GM.
Well, you got to,
but you're in it to win it.
Agreed.
You paid a lot of guys,
and
you got veteran guys.
Decisions to make there in Calgary.
At a minimum, with Kadri locked in, Huberdeau locked in, Markstrom locked in. All right, Dregs, we'll leave it there. We'll do it again soon. Thank you, buddy.
Enjoy the ball game, guys.
We'll try. Yeah. Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider. While we've been on the air, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. has just made one of the bigger mistakes in franchise history. And that's just a straight fact. He just got picked off at second base for the third out when there was second and third, 2 outs. Bo Bichette was battling at the plate. To be asleep on second base, to get picked off on second base of a must-win playoff game is so beyond inexcusable. It's such an amateur play. Vladdy has been doing stuff like this all year. Horrible decision-making, laziness. Looks like he's not paying attention. And they always go to bat for him. No, it's all good. He's a young guy. Youngest guy on the team, guys. Don't forget. This guy's dad is in the Hall of Fame. And he's getting picked off on second base in a must-win playoff game.
Dude, for the
one of the dumbest
out,
plays in franchise history.
A Little League Baseball player would not do that. Yeah. I'm sorry. A Little League Baseball player.
Horrendous.
And if they lose the game, they got to throw him out in front of a microphone to ask him what the hell he was thinking.
And sit there and answer. Sit there and answer. Like Bichette, yesterday, I didn't have an issue with Bichette going for home.
I didn't either. I thought it was an aggressive play.
That play Correa made was an all-time great play. Yeah. It was a phenomenal play. To go from deep in the hole, to chase the ball down across the body, to throw that basically on a dime to get Bichette at home. This is an offense that could manufacture anything all season. Bichette was trying something. Obviously, it didn't work. Right. Clearly, in retrospect, it was not a great decision, but I can reason with it because he was aggressive, and Correa had to be perfect.
Right.
Sonny Gray made a great pickoff play, clearly. He threw that on a rope, and it hit Correa right where he had to hit him. But you cannot be asleep on second base with 2 outs,
it's such
2 on, in a must-win game where you're down 2 runs.
The thing is, the pickoff at second is such a rare play.
That's why he's asleep, though.
That's right.
That makes it worse, is that Vladdy's like, they're not even going to look at me, which is such an amateur way of approaching a big moment like that.
The catcher must have been like, the catcher must have threw him the sign and said, this guy is sleeping out there, and check this out. And the pitcher probably Sonny Gray must have been like, are you serious?
That's right.
And just did it.
You can see Correa starts creeping in because I think he got the signal.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's absolutely asleep at second base.
Wow.
Absolutely asleep. And you know who he just saved is the Berrios-Kikuchi situation, because that becomes number 2. Like, if you're not aware of this, Berrios was humming into the 4th inning. They pulled him. And Kikuchi went in. Then before you knew it, they were down 2-0. Kikuchi's already out of the game.
Well, they're still got a chance. It's sixth.
Of course it
inning.
is. Of course, but they still haven't scored a run.
But what a massive bonehead moment!
Just like, you can't do it, man.
After the year he's had, he will wear that one right up until spring training.
He has to. Like I know sometimes we get carried away in the moment. That is legitimately going to go down as one of the more dumbfounding plays in franchise history when you consider the context. Second and third, Bo Bichette on, 2 outs, must-win game. You can't manufacture anything, and you fall asleep and get picked off at second base. It is absolutely inexcusable. It's crazy.
Just the act of getting picked off at second in a big game, but you just piled on all of the other contributing factors, not being able to score, the situation in the game. Like, it's incredible that happened. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Well, we can get some positive vibes going. Maybe JP, do you want to cue up O's little malfunction there?
Yeah, we could probably
joking,
do
like,
that.
we
Try
gotta,
to put a little positive
put a little
vibe
positive
into the
spin.
atmosphere.
Let's
Is that what
feel
you're
pretty
asking
good.
for?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because we had more opportunities.
Oh, man. Wow.
That was
that one caught you, man. That caught
it
everyone
did.
off guard.
It did. And I was reaching for the off button, but I said I just got to grind through it because I thought I was just going to pause.
Mm-hmm.
But I obviously did not pause.
Well, it happens to the best. Oh, man. That's borderline Lindy Ruff.
It is.
was
Like, that's not far off Lindy Ruff.
But that is when you're outside.
Man, Lindy coughed.
Remember
What a cough that was.
It was a car crash cough.
Oh, my God. I haven't heard that in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Play that Lindy Ruff again.
It's like a cartoon crash.
He swallowed a cigar. Like something happened, like where it backfired in his mouth.
That is the craziest cough into a phone. Like he could have moved
you
his
could
phone.
mute, you could
He could have
turn it away.
muted. Oh man, Lindy, that was a big cough. We need to mix those two together.
It's awful.
Lindy O'Neill. Lindy O'Neill.
I love it.
We need to mix the two.
Yeah.
All right. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel still to come. We got a couple more ball games. The Jays are still in action. TSN 1050's Leafs lineup is your chance to win Leaf tickets every week, all season long. Every weekday, we will announce a current or former Maple Leaf player. And on Friday, you'll have a chance to call in and name the Leafs lineup for the week. So you have to name every single player, all 5 players from all 5 days. Name all the players in the lineup, and you'll score a pair of tickets to an upcoming Maple Leaf game. Today's player, Morgan Riley. Morgan Riley, the longest-standing current Maple Leaf. Morgan Riley. This week, we're giving away a pair of tickets to see the Leafs take on the Wild October 14th. Morgan Riley is your Maple Leaf player of the day. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, we'll get to our best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Every once in a while, we post stuff on Twitter. We post stuff on Instagram. The Grappler posted my Tampa commentary earlier. And it's so funny when people respond and they say things where it's like, was that necessary to say that?
Oh, yeah?
And then follow it up with something else. Like, for instance, and this guy tagged me in it, at B. Hayes on air.
Let me guess. Was it necessary to say that you blah, 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 piece of blah, 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 like they go over the top towards you? Or no?
Yes, but in a way where it's like, it just seems unnecessary to add, ingredients to your take, where especially one in which this person agrees with me. So underneath the TSN post about, my thing about Tampa and it as a sports town,
Right.
he tags me at B. Hayes on air saying, "You're actually right, LOL. Normally I hate your takes. But Florida in general as a market stinks, LOL."
So I'm agreeing with you. Great job, because usually I hate your guts.
Yes, like not disagree. I hate your takes.
Dude,
like,
I get that
I hate
all the
them
time.
so much.
All the time. I'll talk about a player, and this is how it goes. I usually hate everything that you say, but you were right on this one. It's like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, man. Like, it's one thing to disagree or say, hey, listen, usually we don't see eye to eye a lot, or I disagree with a lot of the things you say, but I hate your takes.
Yeah.
Like, I despise them. My skin crawls when I hear you have an opinion.
Which goes
on
to,
something.
like, it makes me want to sniff around and ask the question. And I say this to people a lot because some guy was beaking at us at the beginning of the show, and he's like, these bastards. It's like the Jays lost yesterday, and they're talking about the top 50, anything to talk about hockey. And I just had to write the guy and said, I'm really praying for you. I hope you got through that 4 minutes okay. And furthermore, watch something else.
Yeah.
Like, you got to bitch about everything. It drives me insane.
Well, the nature of our show is the spontaneous nature of it. Like that's
we
generally
didn't
how we
plan to
operate.
talk
Is
about
it's
that.
spontaneous, stuff comes up. Obviously, we have topics we're going to hit on.
Yes, but sometimes there is a Jays loss, but a top 50 hockey list might come up before that.
It might come up. It could come up. And what are you going to do? But anyway, I thank you for agreeing with my Tampa take.
Even though you're
reluctantly.
garbage. Yeah.
Reluctantly. It's like, he's actually not wrong. Even though I hate
love
this
that
guy's
one.
takes.
Like I blurt out idiotic things every day when someone says, usually I hate everything about you, but that you were right about
today
that.
you're
So-
right.
I just
Today you're
hate
right.
it. I hate your takes. Chapman just hit into a double play. The Jays are
course.
ending another rally. Chapman has listen. He loves Toronto, right? Free agent.
Spendy though for him.
Could
boy.
be a free agent in like an hour. But earlier today, he got asked, what do you think of being? Which again, he's been here for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, who's asking before a game? What did you think about Toronto, man? Like he just got traded here 48 hours ago.
Yeah, that was.
Hey, what do you make of the TTC? Are did you vote for Olivia Chow? Like, what do you think? How's everything going?
That's somebody. That's a reporter that got let into the scrum who writes news or does politics or something, and then just happened to be in the scrum.
Possibly, or a national scribe that's going to write about something and just doesn't care about the game necessarily.
Yeah.
But the Jays they've been rallying. How many? They must be up at what, 7, 8, 9 guys left on base, Grappler, today? It's got to be. I mean, maybe. Yeah, it's a ton. And
it's a lot.
And between Vladdy getting picked off at second, Chapman hitting into a double play, they just had the bases loaded.
Berrios out.
Berrios, 12 guys left on base.
They better ask
2-0 in the
Vladdy
sixth.
better have to sit in front of a mic and answer that
Yes.
question.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You got to sit there and answer for how you just got picked off on second base with 2 on, 2 outs in a must-win game where you can't manufacture.
No.
You want to do the
squat
interpreter
offensively.
thing?
The
Go ahead.
interpreter
But
has-
you
Well, he's
better
going to.
answer it.
That's going to happen. That's fine. That's going to happen. But he better sit up there. Like, I don't want to hear, and it's already coming out of the organization. He's the youngest guy on the team. Let's not forget. Vladdy has had a disappointing season based on the expectations. And he's made a lot of blunders on the bases.
Yeah.
He's made a
And
lot
it's
of really amateur mistakes. And the one today is the worst of them all.
It's
but he
just
still
a casual. It's
he-
just a casual approach where it's
very
like,
casual.
where is your mind at, bud?
Yep, it's very casual, and that's like. Remember when John Schneider got here? It was Mr. Fundamentals. Everything's going to be
Attention
serious.
to detail.
Yeah, we're a serious ball club, and we're not going to make any mistakes. And through 2 games, there's been a number of mistakes. That said, they come back and win. None of it's going to matter. You come back and win. You manufacture some runs. It can be all good. No one's going to care about Kikuchi and Fabrios. No one's going to care about Vladdy getting picked off. Anyway. All right, the Leafs are up in Gravenhurst. They're back home tomorrow. The Raptors are out west. They continue with their, preseason. You guys see James Harden showed up. James Harden is officially in camp. He's taking part.
Wow.
Yeah, he's out there. He's like, I'd just love to be in a candid conversation with Nick Nurse. Like, what are you thinking trying to run your first camp? It's such a massive moment for his career.
Yeah.
New camp, big personalities, crazy sports town, high expectations. And James Harden, everyone knows. The report came, I think it was Woj tweeted out yesterday. Like, his plan is to absolutely sabotage everything.
Crazy.
Like, he is going to show up and make life miserable for the Sixers to the point where they have to trade him.
Like, what do you mean? Show up a minute before practice and then just sit on a chair and not practice? And
I would expect he's got a lot of shenanigans planned. I'll bet you he's got a lot of things planned.
I've seen a couple guys do some pissy things, but that's not anything like that. But just starting to make everybody know that you better trade me soon, or I'm really going to be unhappy.
And you know what
make it happen.
you need to do if you're in management, and this makes it even more difficult. You got to get to young players and say, stay away from them.
Right.
Like, because that's the worst nightmare. Hey, you guys going for dinner? Yeah, James is taking us out. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like, because he can't stand Daryl Morey. He wants out of Philly. Like, if rookies or young players are going out with James Harden, and you can't control that.
Right.
But that's got to be a terrifying proposition that this guy's going to try to poison the whole scene. It's going to be something to watch. That's for sure. All right, Jays Twins. We continue to track it. I'm assuming Tampa got rocked
7-0.
7-1. They
done.
lost. They scored 1 run. They lost on aggregate 11-1. How many people were in the building today, Grappler? See if you can find that out.
19,000.
Over, under 19,000.
Over
I'm saying under.
because they got chirped yesterday. They showed up today.
No.
You have a Grappler? Okay, let me answer first. I'll say over, too. I'm going to go over. I'll say 22,350 people.
25,000 people were there. Go ahead, Graps.
25,001.
20,198.
Wow. So like
They
400.
cracked the 20,000 mark. That's
Like-
what they got to be proud of.
Yeah.
brutal.
Like 400 more people showed up.
Not a sports town.
Not a, no, I think I said it stinks as a sports town. Nobody cares about Tampa up here. It stinks as a sports town.
Yeah.
You guys can't defend that. I know you guys love Tampa. What do you got? Timeshares down there or something? Retirement
Del
plans?
Boca Vista, like Strutty said.
Yeah.
No,
That's another thing online. Someone tagged the mayor of Tampa and said Bryan Hayes on TV in Canada is talking smack about your city.
That's really funny.
So
That's
some
great.
guy's going to just walk on his way to some zoning on a street down in Tampa and is going to care about what you have to say.
Right. Oh, I
Highly
understand
unlikely.
it's mutual. Believe me, it's a two-way street. I'm not suggesting people in Tampa care about me,
Yeah.
nor should they. All right, we'll come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Put a wrap on what's been a busy show so far and tracking Jay's Twins tonight. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, the Maple Leafs season opener is next Wednesday, October 11th, down at Scotiabank. Leafs Habs. Listen to First Up tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the season opener keyword. All right, if you hear it, be sure to listen to Overdrive between 4 and 7 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And when you hear the cue to call, the first caller through with the correct keyword will win a pair of tickets to see the game. Leafs Habs next Wednesday, home opener. That's electric.
Woo.
That'd be outstanding. So listen to TSN 1050 next Wednesday as well for full game day coverage starting at 7 p.m. Of course, the game will be right here on TSN Radio. So, yeah. Keyword tomorrow morning on First Up, and when we give you the cue to call tomorrow on Overdrive, call in, boom, want to see the game, right? And I guess the Jays, they've got, how many outs do they have? 9 more outs to possibly still be alive. But if they're not.
Dude, they're not alive. It's just they have a vibe haze. I don't know if you ever watched a game. Well, especially with this team, you just know they're not going to. They can't hit. They're not hitting that ball anywhere other than the infield.
It doesn't seem
Well, it's
like it's
I don't know
possible.
what
All
that-
year we've been doing it. This is the truth, though. You play, and in baseball in particular, it's 162 games. Over the course of 162, you weed out, the teams that can't do it, and the cream of the crop will rise. And you are, like, through 162, you've determined basically who you are. Are there miracle runs? Yes. Are there things that somehow miraculously change overnight? Yes, it has happened historically. But generally speaking, if you spend 162 games without clutch hitting, without the ability to hit
Dude,
for
it
power,
makes you wonder how the
how are
hell
you
they
gonna wake up the
even
next
got
day?
here. I know, but how the hell they even got here with that hitting?
Well, they barely did. 89 wins. They made it by a game.
They were 90,
it wasn't.
Weren't they 91, 92, or 90, 91 the last 2 years, and then now 89?
Yeah, I thought they had 90, something like that. 92 or 91, and they
91,
missed it.
92, then 89.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what the last 3 years has looked like.
Yeah, it's
Not
listen,
good.
they're up against it, but we'll see what
Hey,
happens.
here's a famous saying: you never know.
You never know. You're right. You never know. And Tampa's out,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild. Texas is through. Texas will play Baltimore.
Texas is a good team, though.
They're a good team. They had a really good year. They got a great offense.
You don't think Baltimore's loving that, though? I'm sure they have a lot of respect for Texas, as any athlete or team does, but they're probably saying that Tampa team has just been causing problems for a lot of people over the last 6 or 7 years. See you later.
Yep. Oh, for sure. If you're Baltimore, you're loving that you're not playing Tampa.
Yes.
Loving that. But Baltimore's a young team. They got to prove that
Dude,
this
they're
wasn't
still
just
good,
a big
man.
Oh, they're a very good team. Very good team. They had 100 wins.
Yeah.
But, this happened quickly, right? The expectation, I think, for most people was Baltimore will keep growing. Maybe this year they battle for a wild card. They blew past that stop sign.
Yeah.
And they have arrived. And we'll see what Texas has in store for Baltimore. And Houston sitting there waiting to see who's going to win between the Jays and the Twins. The Leafs will be back in action tomorrow night. And Thursday night are not the best. Washington, Chicago, not the best. And it'll be your game tomorrow night.
Ooh.
Owen Wilson will be picking that
Love it.
game. You guys haven't picked a Thursday nighter in a long time.
A lot of
Man,
pressure.
we're
A lot of pressure.
Having a season.
Actually, it'd be my game because you guys picked the Monday nighter again. That's right. You guys picked the Seahawks, so that's my game. Oh, I don't want that game at all. Washington laying big points against anybody is tough. And the Bears, though, how do you bet on? How do you take the points with the Bears?
Dude,
How?
you take Wash all day long.
I
There's
think you
no
have to.
other way around it.
I think you have to, but I don't love Washington. I don't think
I'll
anybody
tell you why.
does.
I'll tell you what's disappointing, and I was talking with Dave Naylor about it. Chase Claypool, the Canadian, he left Pitt and then got to Chicago, and now he's on the outs, and he could be in big-time trouble if he doesn't smarten up. I don't know the details, but it's like the first problem is when Mike Tomlin quits on you because there's a problem, spreads throughout the league. They'll just call Mike Tomlin and say, what's up with that guy? And now there's problems in Chicago. It's like, what's going on? Disappointing.
Yeah, and let's face it, he had a great rookie season. Ever since then, he hasn't met that expectation. And I think he's had an inflated ego since he got in the league in terms of who he is and what he can do. And it went sour. It went very sour in Pittsburgh. And now, like you said, in Chicago, they're not even playing him. Like they'd be happy to move on him, but what's the market for him? Like who wants to bring him in? That's scary. Like,
Probably got one last shot.
I would say one more. In the NFL, you don't get money. You don't get many, especially if you're not an uber talent. He's a good wideout. He's not a superstar.
Right.
So he's got to figure it out for sure.
Scary stuff.
Yeah.
But
We'll see what happens. Good Canadian boy still. Maybe the CFL is a calling for him.
might
Maybe
be.
the Argos bring him in.
Well, the Argos are what, 12-1?
They don't need help right now. The Argos are the best team going in football.
They're 12-1, or did they? No, they lost the other day to.
In Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
They didn't play Chad Kelly, right? They're playing with some fire. The sports gods are wondering about that karma.
Well,
I
I
don't
would
have an issue
protect
with
him
it.
too.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. He's not going to play every game the rest of the way. They're going to protect him. They're going to give him some time off.
I'm fine with that.
It's all good.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not the karma gods. Like it's not like you're like, oh, we don't, because Winnipeg's a really good team too. It was more about just protecting the quarterback. They're fine with their record, and I don't know. I have no problem. You got to protect Kelly.
Yes.
That's the way I would think.
Yes, you do. I forgot to mention this earlier. Do you know what today is? The 31st anniversary of one of our favorite moments
Hit me.
here in Toronto.
Oh, I saw it. I know what it is because I watched it 25 times and was dying today. I know what it is.
Derek Bell's truck was up for auction 31 years ago today with Joe
So
Carter.
that wasn't a playoff game they did
No,
that?
it was just before the playoffs started. Remember, the playoffs started later in October back then because not as many teams made the playoffs. There was no wild card.
The look on his face is the greatest.
Yeah, I think it might have been the final home game of the season. And
Who's in the car?
Joe Carter.
But there's another. There's a.
I don't know who
a
else is
pitcher.
in
I
It's
it.
think.
like a team employee or something. And
Yeah,
Joe
look
Carter.
at Tabby. Tabby's like, I don't know what's going on, man. This is wild. Like they won a World Series like 3 weeks later. That's what's crazy. Is Joe Carter was jumping for joy in Atlanta like 3 weeks later.
Greatest.
Look at the guy
pranking him.
waving. The guy waving is beautiful.
Greatest prank ever.
Yeah.
Like, and he's laughing in the car.
He's
They're
dying.
driving it down the field too.
Yeah, Derek Bell. He paid like 35 grand cash. It's a souped up truck. He made it to the majors. He was a young guy. Joe Carter. That's one of the great. I just don't think he could pull that off anymore.
No.
Because of security, but also people would be like, "Oh, that's
That's a
you're being
violation.
too mean.
Yeah,
Bullying him. You're
being
bullying
too
him.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
that would be you're being too mean.
That is the greatest. That is probably one of the greatest.
Got to be the greatest prank in sports history. Like on a platform to that level. Like it's
Had
one
the
thing to
announcer-
prank someone
like the
behind the
announcer's
scenes.
in on it, like
Yeah.
announcing.
Oh, there we go, Derek Bell. Beautiful truck will be up for auction, and Joe Carter and some guy in the other one.
just waving as they go
Most
down the field. I
obnoxious
think
wave.
it's awesome. Like that is one
There's
of the
nothing
greatest.
better. Just
ever.
a Muskoka wave all the way into the mouth. Hey guys, how's everyone doing?
Just,
What a beautiful weekend up here on
obnoxious.
Lake Joe.
I love
How's everybody doing over there? Yep, Derek Bell.
That's the best.
Truck up for grabs. All right. Our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. We're looking at the ball games again tonight. Gaby Marino get a hit. I know people don't want to hear that. Brewers money line, Phillies money line. That parlay is paying plus 369. Gabriel Marino to get a hit. Brewers money line, Phillies money line tonight, plus 369. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. All right, this time tomorrow we'll find out what's up with the Jays. 4 p.m. We'll either have a full breakdown or we're teeing up Game 3. Right? Anything's possible.
Well, you never know.
Anything's possible. You're still alive.
We got 6 outs left.
Yep.
Okay? So they got to find
See
a
what
way.
happens.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. We appreciate it for all the help. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that as well. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.